If you have ever wanted to grow a subtropical or tropical tree in a temperate environment and then found out that you can't do that, well, stick around because this video is for you. Today we're going to be talking about permaculture microclimates, and you just might be able to get away with those tropical or subtropical trees in a temperate environment. And there's a bunch of different applications for these microclimates. We're going to be talking about hot microclimates, colder microclimates, frost-resistant microclimates, stuff like that. Stick around and we'll be talking about all kinds of different microclimates. I'm going to be showing you guys some examples that 9 times out of 10 you can find on your own property. So before we get into that, remember Kentucky Sustainable Living will be this summer. All the details are linked down below. I'll be teaching there, as well as a few other people. And Midwest Preparedness Project, that's going to be in Kansas, which is also a free event. I'll be teaching there. Joel Salatin will be teaching there. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see you guys there. If you need a permaculture consultation where I come out to your property and I show you how to do what and where to do it and when to do it, if you want a plan of action, a game plan to follow, hit up the email down below. Now let's get on with the video. So what is a microclimate? A microclimate is a particular spot on your property that has a differing climate than the rest of your property. As you can see right behind me, the grass is just kind of barely grown. It's just now starting to become vegetative. It's brown in certain spots. That right there is actually a mulch ring, so don't count that. But you can see in that ditch over there that it's still kind of brown. Over here, it's very, very low. I haven't mowed recently. And yeah, it's just not growing very well. But literally on the other side of this camera, I'm up against this brick wall right here. And you can see that the grass is growing a lot better just right here. It's taller, it's greener, it's actually vegetative. So what does that tell me? It tells me that I have a warmer microclimate up against this south-facing brick wall than just a few steps going towards the road. How can I use this to my benefit? First, we need to analyze like what kind of tools we have right here. We have a brick wall. What's this going to do? It's a thermal mass, so it's going to soak up and store the heat throughout the day, and then at night it's going to release the heat and keep everything around here kind of protected and warmer than the rest of this property. Now you can see I'm battling the wind today, so hopefully that's not messing with the microphone at all, and hopefully it doesn't knock my camera over again and break another microphone. But here I have a fig and I have a pomegranate. These would both kind of work okay outside of planting them in a microclimate. This will eventually do pretty well in about 4 years of growth, and then this one is going to be touch and go as to whether or not I get pomegranates throughout the year. Like the tree will survive, but whether or not I get actually fruit from it depends on where I plant it. So if I were to plant both of these within very close proximity of this wall, I know I have an extended growing season that I can use. It's going to be warmer earlier in the year, and it's going to be warmer later in the year as well. And these guys can both tolerate the hot, intense, direct sun of Texas. Just a little side note, whenever plant labels say needs 6 to 8 hours of full sun, they're not talking about Texas sun. The Texas sun is intense. So what else can I use this thermal mass in this microclimate for? I can start tomatoes and peppers earlier and plant them outside sooner by using this thermal mass. I could also potentially, maybe, I haven't verified this yet, but I could maybe even grow a particular species of banana up against this brick wall right here. So many of you guys think like, or some of you guys might be thinking, oh, this is kind of like the Sepp Holter thing up in the Austrian Alps. If you don't know, Sepp Holter is a permaculture designer over in Austria, and he's growing Meyer lemons in the Alps over there. How is he doing that? He's using microclimates. He's also making sure that whenever there is a late spring frost or something like that, that the blooms on the Meyer lemon aren't coming in direct contact with the sunlight first thing in the morning. He makes sure that the surrounding area, the atmosphere around that warms up first, which will thaw the blooms and the blossoms, and then later in the day at about 10 a.m., it'll get direct contact with the sun at the point where it's thawed. So that's how he's able to do that, and you can replicate that on your own property. So just to recap, this brick wall faces south. I'm in the northern hemisphere, so it receives a lot of sun. It soaks up the energy of the sun throughout the day and releases it through the night, which keeps the surrounding plants warmer and protected from outlier frost dates and stuff. So that's one microclimate. Let's explore another microclimate on the same property. So right here is another example of a microclimate. I'm literally just on the other side of the house. While I was showing you the south facing wall earlier, now I'm showing you the north facing wall. what can I do here? I can grow, because I live in Texas, some plants are just too hot to get like a full harvest from. So what I can do is plant them here on the north facing wall, especially if I planted them over here, which gets just a little bit more sunlight than the shaded area you see right here. But this is going to be the coolest or coldest part on my property here. So things that would bolt during the hot, intense summers here, or even the hot springs, we have just hot weather in general, things that would bolt typically, I can plant here on this side and get a fuller, like more, just a better harvest from. So things like, for example, spinach or chard or kale, things like that, I can, or even cilantro, I can plant over here on this side, and they'll do just fine over here because this is a cooler microclimate. It's not getting the direct, intense Texas sun, and it's being protected by this cool brick wall on this side. This side is not coming in contact with sun, so this is going to act as a heat sink. Any kind of excess heat is going to be soaked up by this brick. So I've shown you two examples, one of a hot microclimate on the other side of my house, and then a cooler microclimate here on this side of the house. Depending on what I'm wanting to grow, you know, will increase the yield from that particular plant. So what kind of tree could I plant over here? Things that need longer chill hours than what might be easily provided here in Texas. So I could plant some varieties of apple over here, or some varieties of pear. And then also I could plant black currant on this side because it's very, very shaded. Black currant doesn't typically like too much sun, and it likes cooler climates. So I could plant black currants over here, some colder varieties of apples, some colder varieties of pears, things like that. So hot microclimate, cold microclimate. Let's move on to the next one. So now I'm in the backyard. I have the chickens just right over here. They're making compost for me with the chicken tractor on steroids. If you're not familiar with that, then check out one of my latest videos talking about how chickens can make compost for you and eliminate your feed bill for them. But right over there, you can see that galvanized feeding trough or water trough and those boards over there. That's where I plan on building the raised bed garden over here. Now, this way is east, that way is west. Texas has a very intense, angry western sun. So as the sun tracks through over the sky, as it moves that way, it gets angrier and hotter as the day goes on. Everybody has this, like, just the Texas sun is angry at the end of the day. So what I can do here, by planting my raised bed garden here, I can use these trees over here on this western side to provide shade during the western sun time of the day. So I can protect my vegetables, my garden, my plants in my garden. I can protect all that from the western sun by utilizing these trees over on this side. Now what's that going to do? It's going to limit the amount of scorch that happens from the sun, and it's going to allow me to water a little bit less because it's not getting a full day's worth of sun here in Texas. Instead, it's just getting like 8 hours of sun, and then once it hits the trees, then it's starting to shade my garden, and it should be pretty good to go. And then as I was recording this, I actually thought of another microclimate that's here on this property, and is right here in this corner. So you can see these vines, this just like overgrowth really, over here in this corner of the property. I can grow things that don't typically like too much. Same thing with that north side of the property. I can copy right here in this corner because it's protected, it's shaded, and yeah, it won't be getting as intense of a sun as, you know, it typically would. Also, I can use this as a windbreak. The prevailing winds here in this part of Texas for most of the year is coming from southwest. So this is blocking that south wind, and I can grow things here that don't like typically a whole lot of wind or won't blow over my plants and stuff. If this was a taller windbreak, then I might think about growing kiwis back here because kiwis hate wind. Kiwis absolutely hate wind, so using this as a wind block would be beneficial to growing kiwis out here if it was a little bit taller. Just, you know, things to think about whenever you're analyzing your own property. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to take you over to the demonstration site, and I'm going to show you some microclimates that exist there, because we also have bodies of water on the demonstration site. So I'm at the demonstration site now, and before we get into the bodies of water, I wanted to talk about this. Behind me, you see a heavy, dense forest, and I'm in the process of converting it into silvopasture, right? Now, this is way less prone to random outlier frosts than the cattle pasture you see back here. So if you let the wind blow without any kind of restriction or slowing down or a windbreak or anything, it will create cooler temperatures. This forest back here provides that windbreak. So in times like late spring, you'll see frost, or even late fall, you'll see frost out here on this pasture that you don't see back here in the forest. And that's because the forest is slowing down the wind and keeping a more stable climate than the pasture that you see over here. So that's another example of a microclimate. And vice versa, in the summer, this forest is going to be cooler in temperature than that pasture over there that I just showed you. And that's because the trees are providing shade, they're keeping a canopy, and they're also storing water within their trunks, which is going to be more of a stable temperature than whatever media interacts with that pasture over there. As soon as the sun comes out on this pasture, the pasture is hot. As soon as the sun goes down, it's going to cool down a little bit. With the trees and the forest back there, it's just a little bit more stable. Now right here, you can see that I have a very small little pocket pond, and it's capturing the water that all flows from that pasture. That pasture all flows directly into this pond right here, which overflows into another pond that I'm working on. I just need to get another rental for the excavator and stuff. But this right here is providing a microclimate right here. So I'm on the north side of the pond right here. That side, that way is south, this way is north. I'm on the north side of the pond. Now what does this do? The pond captures and stores heat throughout the day and slowly releases it through the night. So things that are prone to a late spring frost, I can plant here on this north side of the pond. Some of those things here in this part of Texas are a lot of peach varieties. A lot of peaches provide early spring blooms that, you know, are kind of susceptible to late spring frosts. Like here in Texas, we usually have, like this part of Texas, we usually have a frost right before Easter. And then after Easter, no more frost for the most part. So anything that's susceptible to a late spring frost, I can plant here on this north side of the pond, and it will be protected from those late spring frosts. So keep that in mind. This is a bigger scale, so if I had a bigger pond, I could still do the same thing on the north side. But let me show you a smaller scale body of water that kind of acts the same way. All right, so right here you can see a swale, right? There's the ditch part of the swale and then the mound part of the swale. As it rains, the ditch part of the swale fills up with water. Now, as the day goes on, again, same thing as the pond, as the day goes on, that water is warming up and it'll slowly release that heat through the night. So how does that apply to my swale? Things that are, you know, susceptible to frost, I can plant closer to the ditch side of the swale, closer to the water part, and things that are more, you know, tolerant of frost, I can plant here on the back side of the ditch. Just a little side note, my daffodils are popping up and they're nice and pretty right now. But yeah, your swale can act as a little miniature microclimate as well. So just here on this small scale, I could plant tomatoes if I wanted to, closer to the ditch side of the swale, earlier than I could maybe in my garden if I wanted to. And I could even use some of these trees as like a trellis for my potatoes, or as a tomato stake, did I say potatoes? I meant tomatoes. I could use the trees as a tomato stake as well. So, and that's usually what I do with like any excess tomatoes or peppers or anything. Any excess plants, I'll actually just plant them here on the swale, and they typically do pretty well. So there's that. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Hopefully it showed you guys that you can get away with a little bit more outside of your growing zone than what you maybe originally thought. It's a super powerful, awesome permaculture technique called microclimates. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, go ahead and hit up the thumbs up button and the subscribe, all that crap, you know what I'm saying. Can't wait to see you at the festivals, linked down below. And if you need a consultation, hit up the email down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I keep saying that. We'll see you next time.